Hello everyone, I'm Alex, and today we'll be talking about a science fiction film called RoboCop. Hope you like it. A known television show covers the Omnicorp's demonstration of their droids. The Novak Elements reporter named Pat Novak talks to the Pentagon's leaders and asks how to decrease the crime rate globally. Pentagon's representative explains that droids are not the solution as they are prone to make mistakes compared to a human that can make its own decisions. Pat Novak dismisses the claims of the representatives and proceeds to show the world a live field demonstration of the Omnicorp's droids' performance. The Novak field reporters takes over the show and presents an Omnicorp's representative named Maddock that controls the droids. He distributes a red band to the reporters as a safety precaution to avoid getting injured by the droids. Meanwhile, a man with his family sets up his group of suicide bombers to blow themselves in front of the media to show propaganda against the droids. The group starts terrorizing the field by shooting the droids and blowing themselves up one by one in front of the droids. But just as the bombing stops, the leader's son furiously grabs a kitchen knife and proceeds to approach the droids. The droids scan him for carrying a knife, marking him as a possible threat before shooting him on the spot. Pat Novak then asks his crew if they are fine and orders the team to stand by before cutting the telecast, regardless of what happened at the field. Pat Novak reminds everyone the importance of the droids and robots across the globe for the safety of the public and ends the show. Meanwhile, at the Detroit Police Headquarters, Chief Karen calls Detective Alex Murphy for a meeting. She is pertaining to their previous stakeout with his partner Jack last night. Murphy enters the room alongside two more cops, John and Andre. He shares that they've encountered the war crime boss named Antoine Vallone with his lackeys, where a shootout occurs, killing multiple lackeys while Antoine Vallone escaping their grasps once more. Murphy insists that they cannot progress on apprehending the war crime boss as he thinks that John and Andre are dirty cops, that they are taking bribes, and supplies illegal weapons to Antoine Vallone. The chief orders the two cops to leave the room. As they leave, Murphy recalls that with their investigation of the source of illegal firearms while they are pretending as buyers. He pretends and insists that the gun dealer named Jerry and his accomplice are undercover cops. But Jerry panics and confesses that they aren't cops but instead works of Antoine Vallone. Another shocking revelation is unveiled as the illegal weapons came from the evidence room and from the police department, meaning there are accomplices that work for Antoine Vallone. One rainy night, Murphy and Jack heads to a restaurant after contacting Antoine Vallone for a business proposal. Jack suggests that they all call for backup, but Murphy insists that it will just alarm Vallone and mess up their plan to arrest him. The duo arrives at the place where they will meet with Antoine Vallone. As soon as Vallone talks to them, he gets a phone call notifying that the two are not corrupt cops and only wants to arrest him. He then leaves and orders his lackeys to shoot Murphy and Jack until they're dead. Blood and bullets scatter all over the place, but Antoine Vallone's lackeys overpowers Jack and Murphy. Murphy and Jack devise a plan to escape. Murphy then jumps off the window towards the alleyway to reach their escape vehicle. Although, the enemies cover all the area including the alleyway that makes it hard for their escape plan. He uses a dumpster as a shield and slowly defeating several enemies, and as soon as Jack follows Murphy to the alley, a hiding enemy shoots him from his rear, but he retaliates and kills the enemy. The bleeding Jack falls at the alley where Murphy calls for backup as his partner is about to lose blood and ignores following Vallone and instead waits for assistance. Back at the current time, Chief Karen reminds Murphy that he needs to inform every action that they will do as it might lead to further harm than any good. Murphy insists to follow the lead to catch Vallone, but the chief tells him that there is no need to worry and she will handle it. Meanwhile, Sellers gets back to Detroit at the Omnicorp building and meets with his business partners Liz and Tom. He asks the two business partners what they can possibly do to make the senators approve the use of their droids as security system. One suggests that they put a human inside one of their droids as a test sample to prove that by integrating a human into their machine, the senators will approve their plan. Sellers heads to the Omnicorp Rehab Center, where he notifies Dr. Norton that they will need their aid to create the company's latest invention of Cyborg. They enter a room with Omnicorp's business partners alongside Sellers. They to review potential police officers that are amputated or facing near-death situation. But Dr. Norton rejects every candidate as he states that it will not work out due to their poor physical and mental assessment. Meanwhile, John and Andre meet Vallone at a bar to have a talk to handle Murphy. Vallone suggests bribing Murphy to be part of the team, but the two officers reject that idea as Murphy is an officer that does not accept any bribes nor threats. They instead suggest eliminating him for an easier solution for their predicament. Vallone orders his lackeys to follow Murphy as he visits Jack at the hospital where they chat. They then plant a bomb beneath his car that will detonate at their command, thus waiting for Murphy to leave. Murphy arrives at his home without any idea of what danger is about to happen. He greets goodnight to his wife, Clara, and son, David. He puts his son to sleep and talks to Clara about how regretful he is towards Jack's case. After drinking some alcohol, the couple gets intimate. The alarm of Murphy's car sets off where his keys cannot stop the alarm, indicating that the bomb is now active. The couple has no idea of what impending danger will happen. He decides to turn it off manually inside the car, but as he opens the door, the bomb sets off and explodes in front of him. Clara hears the explosion, she panics and calls for an ambulance while everything fades to black for Murphy. Several months after, Murphy and Clara dances at a party where he is with all the people that he loves the most. The music and everyone at the party slowly fades away while Dr. Norton activates Murphy after a long hibernation of restructuring his body and inserting him into a mechanical body. In Murphy's confusion, he thinks that all of this is a drug effect or a simulation. He immediately requests to be released from the facility. He chokes Dr. Norton and runs off the building. As Murphy runs with his new mechanical body, he surveys the area and is in shock of all the features of his new body. He jumps off the building and runs to the rice fields. Dr. Norton shuts down Murphy's system before he gets away too much from the facility after realizing that he is not in the same body that he knows. After some time, Dr. Norton activates Murphy's system and explains to him that there are not much left of his body. They open his suit little by little while showing him remaining organs. And after seeing his bare lungs and arms, he is horrified on how he looks like. Dr. Norton informs him that his wife previously signed the consent form for pushing through the operation for his survival is at stake. Murphy requests to talk to his wife, but before he calls his wife, he adjusts the camera angle to show only his face. Clara rejoices as she sees Murphy through a video call. Regardless of how Murphy tells her that he is not the same, she compliments him as she wants to cheer her husband up. The call ends after Murphy informs her that they will meet in person after the tests and finalization of his suit. Later that morning, the simulation of Murphy's fieldwork commences where an evaluation of his performance and a droid's performance is compared side by side. It is obvious that Murphy's performance is lacking in comparison to a droid that follows a program and certain protocols to do at various situations, where Murphy hesitates and still has his humanistic side. Maddox calls Murphy Tin Man and tells Dr. Norton that he needs to improve his performance. After some modifications to Murphy's system, Dr. Norton clears the waivers for his simulation tests. Murphy then proceeds to the field simulation where he is against Maddox and multiple droids. He shows his impeccable skills that takes down his simulated enemies easier than compared to his previous performance that finishes his preliminary tests for his deployment. Following the events of the tests, Dr. Norton drives Murphy home to his family that is waiting for his return. Clara opens the door and welcomes him, although his new stature shocks Clara and David, where the Murphy's family reunites and celebrates his survival from the accident and embraces him tightly. Later that morning, Murphy arrives at the OmniCorp facility where Jack is waiting for him to both welcome and celebrate their recovery. He goes back to his station where Dr. Norton inputs all the criminal database of the Detroit city, but it overwhelms his brain, making him brain dead. But he suddenly stops as he reaches the footage of his attempted murder. This is where an OmniCorp representative pushes Dr. Norton to find a solution for Murphy's breakdown. He decides to completely shut down his brain and enable his duty mode as he is continuously losing consciousness before the public conference. Everyone at the OmniCorp panics and does not know what to expect from an unconscious Murphy inside his suit. The awaited moment of all occurs as the Novak Element airs their coverage of the public conference at Detroit. And as the public conference starts, Murphy walks out to find Clara and David alongside Jack waiting for him. Murphy walks with no expression, even though David greets his father, but gets no reply. He rides the elevator and walks past while ignoring Sellers and the mayor as they extend their hands to him. The crowd falls silent as he walks out ahead of everyone. and begins scanning the crowd for criminals with warrants. He successfully detects one old male individual that is charged with murder and multiple charges. Murphy's actions tell him to pull the trigger and shoot the murderer with a shock dart to immobilize the target, while the crowd goes silent once more. Right after the incident, Pat Novak airs his own reaction for detectives' apprehension at the public conference. He boasts about increasing the safety of the public once every corner of the city has robotic police officers and shouts, "This is the future of American justice." Meanwhile, at the OmniCorp, its company shareholders and partners start a meeting pertaining the error and success of programming a robot cop. OmniCorp decides to let the issue subside for the meantime and to distance Murphy's family. Later that evening, Dr. Norton visits Clara and informs her that their team has sedated him where he is unconscious when he faced the public conference. He claims that the incident is bound to happen as complications are prominent. After some time, OmniCorp partners with the Detroit Police Department and deploys Murphy to manage some unresolved cases. Chief Karen informs everyone that Murphy can get any case as long as he wants to and no one can argue about it. And as he is about to leave, Jack approaches him and is excited to work along with him once more, but Murphy dismisses him and tells him he has more work to do. Detective Murphy hops into his motorcycle to survey the area as he passes by the crowd. Everyone cheers for his success. But the public is not aware that he is not conscious enough to reply nor react to their cheers, as his only focus is to detain every wanted individual that he can find. The patrolling Murphy detects the possible source of the street drug transaction in alleyway. He rushes forward to the location of the main source of the drug with the intention of taking it down. Murphy dispatches the big boss and permanently eradicating the drug trade in that area. Days after his dispatchment, Clara is waiting outside the police station to stop Murphy as he is about to leave. She reminds him that they still have a son that needs his care and presence. Thus, Clara tells him how traumatized their son David is after the incident at the public conference and the pestering of the media wherever they go. Murphy ignores Clara regardless of her plead for help and leaves. After cruising around Detroit, he realizes how much distant he has been towards his family. Murphy multitasks and begins to investigate his own murder case and inspects it. He connects and reviews all the cameras in the area for different angles of the explosion and notices that his wife and son witnessed everything that night of the incident. The memories leading to the events of how he took down the illegal weapon trade from Jerry and after the confrontation with Antoine Vallone. The rage-driven droid Murphy intends to take down Vallone as he connects all the evidence that Vallone is the one responsible for his murder. He starts by connecting to the cameras and finding Jerry with the intention to interrogate him. Meanwhile, as Jerry is about to leave his house, Murphy arrives and pins him down for information. Jerry resists the arrest and was immediately taken care of by Murphy before he escapes. Murphy connects to Jerry's phone to access the location of Vallone's lackeys. Meanwhile, Murphy prepares to arrive at Vallone's warehouse of the enemy, where Vallone is also preparing for the arrival of the RoboCop. He informs his accomplices to use high-powered firearms and always aim for the head. The enemies turn off the warehouse's lights, and Vallone requires them to use a night vision goggle to use to their advantage. Multiple loud banging noises come from the entrance as Murphy arrives with his motorcycle, sliding it to the ground and hitting the front lines of the enemy. Vallone orders his team to shoot at him with all the weapons that they have, but it only damages his torso and visor. Murphy then retaliates with his own gunshots, taking down enemies in a cool fashion. As the shooting stops, he finds Vallone's corpse laying at the floor breathless and notices that there are familiar fingerprints at the guns at the floor from his co-officers John and Andre, where a furious cyborg grabs his motorcycle and returns to the police station to apprehend John and Andre for being a corrupt police officer. Murphy arrives at the police station and interrogates John and Andre at their workstation to prove that they are involved at the bombing and his murder. They both confess for their betrayal and being involved with the shootout at the restaurant and planting the bomb at Murphy's vehicle. After hearing about their confession, but Murphy still tases them before confronting Chief Karen. Meanwhile, at the OmniCorp base, Maddox is watching Murphy as he is about to shoot Chief Karen. He immediately shut Murphy's system down and reports the incident to sellers that their product is going rogue. At another episode of Novak's Element, Pat Novak reminds the people of America that even police officers and chiefs can be corrupt, and he adds to suggest to the authorities to deploy more droids across the city to improve the overall security. After some time, Sellers meets with Maddox, Liz, and Tom to talk about Murphy's condition. Liz issues a statement to the public to say that Murphy is in critical condition. Sellers decides that they can use Murphy as a symbol of sacrifice and patriotism to stir up sympathy from the public. When Clara demands to see her husband but is immediately denied by Omnicorp, Sellers quickly deploys Maddox and other Omnicorp soldiers to destroy Murphy. He prepares a lie to tell Clara that her husband died from his injuries during a mission. The Omnicorp issues their plans as Liz arrives at Clara's home and escorts her and David to the headquarters with Sellers. And at Murphy's containment room, Dr. Norton's assistant helps them by running into the facility where Murphy is. She warns him that Omnicorp will kill them both to erase any evidence. Murphy wakes up in time to kill the two Omnicorp soldiers before they can fire at him and Dr. Norton. Murphy hops in his motorcycle once more and goes to confront the combined forces of the SWAT and Omnicorp's employees. And in a spectacular fashion, Murphy utilizes his equipment and devises a plan to take down multiple large droids protecting the stairs leading to Sellers' location. He flips his motorcycle into the building, getting the attention of two large droids. Heavy artillery from the large droids shoots at Murphy, but he is wise enough to fool the movements of the AI to get them to shoot at each other. Another droid is caught in the crossfire and falls from the second floor where Murphy's left arm is caught beneath it. As more droids come in, Murphy is forced to grab his gun and shoot his left arm to escape. Jack and his squad use themselves as meat shield, giving Murphy a chance to escape. Maddox and his accomplice find Murphy, and before he points his gun at them, they both wear red bands that restricts Murphy from harming them. But Murphy tries his best to point his gun at his enemies, but he fails as he cannot override his programming. Before Maddox can deliver the fatal shot, Jack arrives just in time to shoot him in the back, killing Maddox and his accomplice before getting himself shot. Murphy rushes to Jack to scan his gunshot, but notices that it is non-fatal. Jack tells Murphy to immediately follow Sellers at the rooftop to stop them from lying from the public. Everyone at the rooftop hears metal footsteps as Murphy climbs the rooftop stairs. Sellers, Clara, and David is waiting for the helicopter for their escape. Murphy shouts his arrest claims Sellers for his attempted murder. But to his surprise, he is wearing a red band preventing him from shooting the Omnicorp employees. Sellers provokes Murphy by pointing his gun towards Clara and David with the intention of shooting. Eventually, Murphy overrides his programming, allowing him to shoot Sellers after almost harming his family. Although after overcoming the Omnicorp programming, Murphy goes down due to his critical state of his mechanical body. The movie ends after a time skip after Dr. Norton repairing Murphy's mechanical body and providing assurance of security to his family that no one can hurt and control them anymore.